think that's the live stream. We will see. We are live streaming. Here we are. It is the Martin Fowler Scrum. Yes, here we are. Hello, it's Lokesh, and it's July the 4th, and it's a holiday in the US, so I don't know if we'll have anybody else around. Let's start with you, Lokesh. How are things going with you?
Hi, Sam. So, I was studying about YouTube API for which we can use to, create broadcast events. And, I used the API, to modify to create a script through which we can, automatically create new events.
You mean a kind of a streaming event like we've got going on now?
Yeah.
Cool.
Like, yeah. And those streaming events, will use the same API key.
Right. Great. Yes. And so I guess now you're sort of investigating that. The interesting question is what's the user story? What's the top level goal that you're thinking about in that investigation?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said, so that's really interesting. So, but what's the top level user story that you're thinking about? So it's great to explore new APIs. What's the kind of user need that you think we're going to meet with that API?
Yeah, now we have to, manually go to the stream now button and copy paste the stream URL. Right?
Yes.
With this, and also we need to find the proper YouTube link where our video is streaming. But with this, we can in the future. For the future, we can create new broadcast events.
So you're thinking about? Oh, go on.
Yeah, and these also have a URL, as you can see in the bottom of the window here.
I can't see your screen at the moment. But
I'm sorry.
You just mean the the Jitsi?
I mean here. Look, I have created broadcast events.
Okay. So these are ones that you created using the API.
Yeah, API. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And that's within your own account. Within your own account, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I agree. I mean, the interesting thing is that in the previous setup with the Hangouts, we still had to press a button, but we didn't have to add a key, and it was easier to find the URL. So yes, the sort of usability of streaming has gone down. Yeah, it would be lovely if what I would love to see is for people who are running an event that they don't have to do anything. That the stream starts automatically if they're and we've got the question there of does it auto start or is there some kind of button, and then also that the we get the link to the video automatically added to our site and to Slack and so on. So yes, great that you're looking into that. Anything else that you're doing or anything blocking you at all?
Yeah, I was thinking about implementing the cucumber test for the YouTube fix.
Right.
And I was wondering that can I add the JavaScript test into the cucumber?
You can. I mean, in that Cucumber just sits on top of Capybara, and so it can do any kind of test that one wants. The danger is that one ends up writing a brittle test that is inconsistent, you can certainly try it.
Yeah, because while debugging, once I saved the Capybara page using the save page command, and it was all HTML, so I'm not sure whether it supports JavaScript.
Like we have got tests that use JavaScript. So, for example, maybe I should go on a screen share here. I mean, I'm fairly confident that that's supported. The interesting question here is whether it's sensible. So we've got, if I look in, it's probably in the step definitions, isn't it? Like if we look in the step definitions and we go find in path here, and I look for JavaScript, run JavaScript thing, step definitions. We got, I've got Discus.js. That is, oh, and I guess is the step definitions not including maybe I can find it more easily using. Basically, we've got, I think it's in event steps, but you can, although the save page saves the HTML, right? You can in principle run bits of JavaScript, and there's a mechanism for doing it. I'm sure let's have a look. We've done it several times before, so particularly as regards this, like we had it like, oh, here you go. See this here?
I'm sorry, your I think screen is freezed earlier. Wait, let me reload it.
Can you see my screen? Maybe I need to start and stop that, or Lockish has dropped out. Hey there.
Yeah, hi.
Okay. So I'm resharing my screen. How about now? Can you see now?
Yeah, I can see now.
So you see, we have the option here, because Capybara, it's kind of connected up with, I guess we're using Selenium, or gosh, but so if we look at the Capybara thing, no, Phantom.js. So Phantom.js is the kind of browser environment, like via Poltergeist driver, and it's using Phantom.js. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a whole JavaScript environment, and we can, in principle, execute bits of JavaScript. Now the danger is that, doing this is kind of, different from what the user actually experiences. Do you know what I mean?
How?
Well, because there's when the user loads the page in their browser, right? There's a sequence of events, and there's certain things, like a fully featured browser causes certain things to happen. Now, the thing that we've got here, this is kind of a hack, right? To ensure that the detect user time zone thing happens, right?
Yeah.
Because in the ideal world, the acceptance test would completely replicate the user experience with the user browser, and everything would get run automatically, right? So there's always the danger, if we start doing this, right? Like we can get the test to pass, but maybe the user would still not get the end result that they wanted. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's this, it's frustrating. There's this balancing act between, we want our acceptance test to be as close as possible to the real experience so that it automatically checks what the user would experience. But the reality is that these headless if it's a test like this and it's running in a virtual browser, there's always some room for error. And the more things that we do like this, the greater the danger that we end up having passing tests, but they still miss some sort of bug that's related, for some people. I mean, the thing that I'm sort of repeatedly saying is we've got to be careful how much time we put into trying to make these perfect acceptance tests against, doing enough, like having enough of it, is enough of the code paths covered? Do we have enough unit tests, or JavaScript unit tests? Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So go on.
And I was thinking that we also need to update the test database because it doesn't has YouTube links.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can put some, but with Cucumber, you can put some in, right, at the beginning to handle that. So, if we've got, I don't know if we've got something. I mean, the really important thing when you're writing the Cucumber tests is to look through the other Cucumber tests and see the other things. So like we've got, for example, here in this one, the following Hangouts exist, and they've got like, I mean, that's probably not a good example there. I think it may, yeah. I mean, these are, right. This is the place where I don't know if it's the YouTube. Yeah, there you go, YouTube video ID.
Yeah.
And then it's important to look behind, actually, how is this creating a Hangout? Yeah? The danger is that you see this and we think, oh, yes, I'll just have one of those. But then, actually, it's doing something a bit complicated on the back end. So it's very important to look at, how it's actually structuring the data.
Yeah.
But for a Cucumber test in principle, you can set things up so that the database is in the right state. I mean, again, there's a danger here that you can put, by manipulating the database directly, that you put the database in a state that it would never reach in the normal running of the app. Do you know what I mean?
You mean I shouldn't modify the database directly?
No, what I'm saying is that the way these Cucumber tests are working is that they are modifying the database directly. Like we do it, but it's dangerous, right? But it's a trade-off because, we want this test to test, certain working of the app, right? And we want it to do it fast. So in order to save time, we create, we get the test database into a certain state, right? And we do it quickly by manipulating the database directly. Yeah. So that saves us time, but it's then dangerous because if we have something in here, like in the way that we manipulate the database directly, that is then different from the state of the database fundamentally when the user's using the app, then the test might not be testing the right thing, or we might not catch a particular error. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I experienced that.
Right. So it's the funny thing with all of these things is that there's kind of like no perfect right or wrong. There's kind of trade-offs of, we want our tests to run fast. We also want them to be completely accurate, right? But we can't have kind of both. And we have to make this judgment call of, I mean, also, so there's like three things. One is how fast our tests run. The other one is how accurate they are. And then the other one is how long it takes us to create them and how reliable they'll be. So in the ideal world, the tests would be easy to write. They'd be really reliable. They'd take no time to run. and they would be completely accurate. Like 4 things. And the problem is we probably can't have all, we almost certainly can't have all of them. And sometimes it's difficult to have even any of them, right? Because for some tests, you could spend ages writing it, trying to get the acceptance test, doing all the JavaScript, this, that, and the other, fine. It can be unreliable, you know, because of race conditions. It can actually end up not being completely accurate, and it would have taken a long time to write and a long time to run. So we've got to be very careful when we're writing tests, particularly at the top level, about, you know, how long we spend on them and what value we're getting from them. Does that, I'm probably talking too much. Does that make any sense to you? I guess I'm just going to write this down. We want tests to run fast, 2 tests to be reliable, 3 tests to catch bugs, and 4 tests to be quick to put together. I guess I've got a blog post coming on there. Sorry, we're supposed to be doing a Scrum, so it was just when it's the 2 of us. Anyway, can you still hear me? Are you still there? Hi there, Lokesh.
Hi, sir.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, the network wasn't working.
Oh, well, don't worry. Anyway, I mean, I'm kind of going off. I should maybe write a blog post or something about this thing about the testing. But so anyway, I guess I should do my update. I'm kind of not doing a very good Scrum Master here by going off into the chat, and we've lost Lokesh again. No, the network. Oh well. Ah, oh dear. Are you there or not there? It's not clear.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you are there. Sorry. There was kind of like a. It has this sound, and I thought it meant that you left. But
no.
Okay. All right. So my updates are, yeah, we had the AV community meeting last night, which was just Michael and myself, and we were chatting about, you know, the different, you know, maybe moving the time of the meeting, more about Michael's idea of like the domain model and so on. We made a change to the getting started page that I'm mentioning in marketing. Yeah, and I've said to Michael that I would read this book on fundamentals of machine learning for predictive data analytics. This morning I've got on with doing the budget for the next year for us, which was important to do, and continuing to try and merge bits and pieces in website 1 and local support to try and sort things out. Yeah, and that's about the size of it for me today. There's no other big meetings today. Obviously, we've got the NHS monthly kickoff. We've got the new monthly report for NHS will come up afterwards. Yeah, I'm not really blocked by anything, just still not feeling very well and needing to get stuff done. Very, very excited that, you know, Jitsi seems to be working very well for us. So that's our Scrum. Oh, and Matt is here. Hey, Matt, how are you doing?
Hi, very good. Sorry.
Hey, no problem.
Real quick.
Yeah, happy July the 4th.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, we were just, yeah, almost getting to the point of wrapping up. Yeah, how are things going with you?
Very good. I can't think of anything to report. I just woke up, so.
No worries. No worries. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just highlight that. Well, so we had the AV community meeting last night. Just Michael and I, as I was saying. There's a Google Doc on the video of the meeting up in there. One thing I did do was I just removed the first 2 sections of the getting started document because we were looking at the analytics. I've posted all this in marketing, but yeah, I'm just independently of all. I know I've got lots of other ideas about getting started, but I'm just like, we've just got to reduce the amount of text we've got everywhere. And anyway, so yeah. That's about the side of it. Lokesh and I were just having a big chat about, you know, acceptance tests, and yeah, I was kind of having this thing of like, there are like 4 things that we would love our tests to do. Like, we'd love them to run quickly, we'd love them to be reliable, as in, you know, not fail intermittently, as they sometimes do, you know, and we would like them to catch all the potential bugs, and we'd like them to actually be able to easy to write and quick to put together. And I was just saying to Lokesh, it's really difficult to get all those 4 things, like in order for them to run fast, reliable, and catch bugs. That often requires a lot of effort, and you have to ask, how much, you don't spend the rest of your life writing one test for one thing when all of your customers are asking for this, and this. You've got to have a trade-off where you say, okay, I've spent a certain amount of time on writing the test for this. I'm reasonably sure that it will catch, 95% of the bugs. It seems like it'll be reliable and it's running fast enough. And it's just a difficult trade-off, I think, particularly with exceptions tests.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that's that. I guess another thing I was mentioning to Lokesh is, looks like Olena submitted a fix for the one that you mentioned, actually, adjusting the pixel thing. Lokesh, did you speak to her?
No.
No. Okay. So I guess, yeah, she's on the thing. So that all makes sense. Well, I guess unless there's anything else that we need to sort out, that's our Scrum. I mean, Lokesh, I was reviewing the website the pull request about the oh gosh, I think I haven't posted the I've posted some bits and pieces, like yeah. I mean, at some point, I mean, again, on the topic of testing, we could be looking in more detail at that Cucumber setup and the go live thing. But I guess maybe do you want to talk about that now?
Yeah.
Hold on, I'll just finish. Well, let me put my screen share on. Let's have a look at there. So I was I was in the middle of writing this comment here. So I was just looking at so you added this scenario that the repeating event shouldn't show live until the Hangout URL is updated. And so we've then got, given the date is so on, I start the repeat Scrum event, then the repeat Scrum event should not go live. So, and this is when I start the repeat Scrum event, you've got that set up so it's clicking on the live placeholder link. So that corresponds to clicking on the Start Hangout button, I think. Now, the interesting thing is that just clicking on the Start Hangout button, even when everything was working, by itself, that would never cause the event to go live. The event would go live when the Hangout plugin in the Hangouts sent data back to the website one server, and that would make the event go live. And you might say that's okay. Well, maybe is there not real difference there? And then you've got the next one is that when I manually set the Hangout link for event repeat Scrum, then the repeat Scrum shows live for that Hangout link for the event duration. So absolutely, the manually setting it, that's the way it works now. That when you do the manual Hangout update, it will kind of go live. But it makes me then wonder about, so now we go back to the pull requests. And yeah, so I was looking at this failure, right? So this is the test in the absence of that change. Now, the failure that we're seeing with that test is that it can't find the live placeholder link or button, right?
Yeah.
And I guess the question to ask is that the kind of error that we would expect? Do you know what I mean?
Actually, it wasn't the case that it was showing this error earlier, but right after I followed Alex's suggestion, I forgot to check the consequence of this test on
right
air.
Uh-huh. So I mean and this is a great example of why it's so valuable to, get the testing component in first. And it's so difficult, isn't it? When you're looking at a piece of software and you're trying to understand why it's not working, the temptation is to work out how it's not working and then fix it. And then you fixed it and it's kind of like, well, I fixed it, so we should release that. And the danger is then it's really hard to get the the testing thing done afterwards. And then there's all this, like, as you change, like as you refactor the testing thing, again, is the right error being created? I mean, it's almost, I start to question, maybe this is all so hard that we should just give up. I'm not sure. I think the thing for me is I kind of want to jump back to, like, what was the original issue here? I've just got a little
Okay.
But so the original issue was that the event would go live at a particular time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like e.g., let's say 12 UTC, right? And
Yeah.
right then, so someone would join, like the event would go live because it was set to kind of like just go live at that time. And
Yeah.
then now the problem is it would display a link to join now, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it would be to the old Hangout URL. Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone would. This is the sequence we've got here. 1, 2. Sites. Saves the links joiner. 3. Someone would join the old URL. Then we would have somewhat. So this is like, I don't know. We've got this member, and then Scrum Master would submit a new Hangout URL. Right. 5.
Yeah.
Scrum Master and others would join new Hangout. Problem, people are in 2 different Hangouts, right?
Yeah.
This is, do you agree? This is an accurate description of the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what we would want to do at the very top level, like the way that of approaching the problem before we even looked at the code base, ideally, would be to say that, to write out a cucumber story that related to this. And I guess I'm just thinking about it here. I mean, the difficulty that we have is the parts of the site that were set up to say, join now, and they would, do it to the old Hangout URL. And so I guess what we would want to make sure for this is that the join now is not displayed unless a Hangout has been, URL has been submitted within the last 10 minutes or what have you. But so if we look at the way that we've got the test working here, right? The problem is with this test is it's not really checking, like the fact that the repeat Scrum event should not go live, right? It's using, where's it gone? It's using the presence or absence of this button as an indication of whether the thing is live or not. And actually, so this test could pass, right? Depending upon whether that's the start now button was there or not. Yeah. We could still have, this could still all be true, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so the particular thing that we need to check for is, I guess, like if we look at this thing here, so it's even before, like the this is great, right? We've got some, given the date is whatever, particularly, let's say this is like 7 a.m. or what have you, right? I guess it doesn't matter if it's live or not. The critical thing is, then it should be, I should not see.
Should not see the old URL. Yeah.
Well, I mean, basically, if a new URL hasn't been provided, we should not see the join now link to the URL, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the key thing. Like, unless we're checking that the old URL is not displayed, right? Then our test isn't really checking that the same problem won't happen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so then we have, I mean, it's an interesting thing here. Like, I start the repeat, like, and at the moment, because because actually clicking this button does nothing to the thing under test. Do you know what I mean? Like, at the moment, the thing under test that we've got, I'm trying to draw a box here, but the thing that we've got under test is website 1, right? Like Rails server. Yeah.
Yeah.
So clicking that button in a real web browser starts a Hangout, but that whole Google button and everything won't load in the virtual browser that we're in. So unfortunately, although, like, where's it gone? Like this does something. I mean, what it's doing is it's navigating us to this event, right? But this is having no impact whatsoever on our test. It's completely redundant. At least I think. I mean, that's my working hypothesis.
Sam, the reason we added this line was that because the test we initially wrote, which we should have written, was also passing in the without the fix.
Sure, right, but I mean, I think it's. I don't think that this one change can make any substantive I mean, the reason this is now causing a failure is because, when it's like a side effect, right? There's what you're doing with that test, specifically with this, right? This has the effect of looking for Hangout button. Would you agree?
Yeah.
It fails if it can't find the Hangout button. Right?
Yeah.
And so this is like, I think the reason that this may cause passing or failing is because it's like that when the event goes live, right, then the Hangout button disappears, right? But there are two things in the page. There's the Hangout button, and then there's the Join Now button, or Join Now link, right?
Yeah.
So the problem is, like, and this would be the thing, like, if I was doing mutation testing, right, if I made it so that the Hangout button disappeared, but the Join Now link didn't, your test would still pass. But the fundamental problem would still be there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how are people getting into the old Hangout, Sam? Are they clicking on the Join Now link? Is that what you're saying?
It has been the case in the past, and both Lokesh and Rishi have experienced this recently, that if we have a Hangout that's set to go live at a particular time, and the Scrum Master, doesn't get there before that time, the site says Join Now with the old Hangout URL. So anybody clicking on that Join Now button ends up in the old Hangout and not the new one.
Yeah, so that's your test should be centered around. That's what you're trying to do, right?
Right. So I mean, I guess what I'm saying here is that the thing should be not checking to click this button. It should be checking for the join now. I mean, ironically, of course, if we start using Jitsi, then the Hangout URL stays the same the whole time. Do you know what I mean? Right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's ironic. I mean, part of the reason to even be spending time talking about it is to help Lokesh understand why this is slightly dangerous. Is it making sense, Lokesh? Do you agree with me that this is slightly dangerous?
Yeah, but I think I have a difficulty finding out other thing which could, because the reason why we added this was because, can you see my screen?
I can see your icon at the moment, not your screen. I can see your screen now. Yeah.
Yeah. So, earlier our test was like this line wasn't there. Like when I start the Hangout, this line wasn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the problem was, this test was also
not failing in the right way. Yeah. No, I understand that. I totally understand that. Right. And but so that's all true, right? I guess that what's complicated here, though, is like you understand why this breaks, right?
Yeah.
Why does it break?
Yeah.
I'm asking you. Explain to me why does this fail without the fix?
Why does this actually passes
without the fix? If the fix is not in place, why does it fail? We see the failure, like in this one, we get this failure. Why does it get this failure when the fix is not in place?
You mean why does it fail to find the
why does it fail well, what does this failure mean? Describe the failure to me, what it means.
I have to look into that. I haven't looked into that. I have to see that.
All right. Well, let me tell. In that case, let's go on, Matt.
Is it because the button goes away?
Yeah, it's because the button goes away, right?
Yeah.
So if we look at, for example, now the Martin Fowler Scrum, and we look at the event page. Excuse me. I just get to Martin Fowler.
So, I mean, I think you found the basic problem is that it should be checking the link and not the button. Is
that's what I'm trying to say? Yeah, it's like there's. I think we can all agree. I hope, Lokesh, that sometimes there's a Google Hangout button here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and so the reason that this is failing is because the button's not there.
Yeah, that's a wrong way to replicate the thing. But I'm saying that we did it for a special side effect, and the aim was to make this thing at the recent Hangout not nil.
Yeah, right.
So I'm asking, if we are not doing this, then how should we
Well, what we have to do is we have to check that the join now link isn't there.
Yeah, but that link wouldn't be there. Even if apply the fix, that link wouldn't be there.
No, but I think that was the problem, though, is that it was there. Because this is the thing, that the page would, at 7:01, right?
Yeah.
The join now would be present. If it wasn't present, then you couldn't experience the error. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you are right, but the tests somehow are not replicating the real situation, because in the real situation we have this variable not nil.
Right. So I think then there's a problem with the test, not with the problem is that you've added this and got it to fail, right? But it's the wrong kind of fail, right? The failure here doesn't guarantee that we fix the problem.
Yeah.
So do you know what I'm saying? It's like you can say, oh, we have this problem, the tests are not failing, right?
Yeah.
You can add some random thing that as a side effect happens to make it fail. And you can just kind of say, it sort of depends, you know, if you want the this is coming back to this thing, do we want the test to really properly catch the bug? And you could say, well, you know, we all say we want to do this quickly, right, and put it all together. You could say we've already spent so much time on it, where whatever, you know, just this will do. It's sort of all right. It depends what you want. What do you think? I mean, how are you feeling? Are you feeling like, I'd really like to make the test really test the right thing, or kind of I can't be bothered. It's just, you know, it's time to move on. What do you think?
I think my old method. I think I could use my old method to test this thing because it was failing for the right reason.
Right. I mean, I guess can I see the previous method? Go on, Matt.
Yeah, I guess if you're not testing the right thing, it could always reoccur, and you're not guarding.
You're absolutely right, Matt. That's the danger.
That's the danger. Yeah.
Yeah. At the moment, I think this sort of works because the if this disappears, then that's when the join now link gets displayed. Right. So the kind of the test that's saying like, oh, this isn't here. I don't know. I mean, that even doesn't quite make sense to me, but it's sort of a proxy for fixing it. It's not necessarily actually fixing it. And so if there was some other change in the code base, this could start reappearing, right? Yeah. But we wouldn't, the test wouldn't catch the problem, right?
Yeah.
But so I wonder, can I see where would I look to see the previous version of the test before? I guess this is like, I guess it would be here. Yeah, I've got a commit from you. It says use Alex's suggestion to simplify scenario. So maybe the commit before then.
Yeah.
If I looked at that, I might be able to see.
I think you have to. I think you have to browse the repository at that point.
Maybe. But here, so I guess you're.
Yeah, this is the one.
If I do view all there. But so this seems to have the fix in it. Maybe I'm browsing the one with the fix in it. I guess maybe that's been removed afterwards. But so, okay, so you've got, this is what it was before. Okay. Okay, so we've got a thing there that's checking for the link. And this has still got this in it. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, I guess we've had, you know, a good long discussion on it. It's a really tricky, it's a really, really tricky thing. And the fact that it's so tricky, you know, it makes me wonder, you know, how much time is it worth spending? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, and it can be really frustrating to have to kind of go back to a test and, you know, this, that, and the other. I would love to kind of like just dive in here and quickly see the original version of the test. My suggestion going forward is to try and just start again from the, you know, like the code before you put the fix in, and try and write a test like this one, that generates the error, right? So the cucumber should sort of be approximately this steps, and this is the kind of thing like if the code base doesn't have the fix, then in principle you should be able to write a test like this that generates the error. if you can't, then that tells us something. We shouldn't just do like add side effects. We need to see the actual fail, based on this, and then we can move forward. So maybe I can share. I'll share this like doc with you. This is, and we'll see how we go. It's my apologies that it's quite so tricky. I realize it might be really, really frustrating, and maybe it seems like I'm just like being unreasonable of going like, well, we've got to do this and we've got to do this, and but it's like this trade-off. One possible approach is to say this is good enough and then move on, but then the worry is that our test quality is gradually dropping and dropping and dropping, and that's. Well, that was a bumper edition of the Martin Fowler Scrum. We did clearly mark the end of the Scrum.
I got a quick story.
Yeah, go for it.
I was going to tell you guys that guy Robert, with testing, and I was testing like for randomness and a return set. This is just a kind of a different situation, but it's a little bit similar. And I was just picking 5 items and then checking the next time through if the 5 items were out of order, were in a different order.
Oh yeah.
And then checking a third time through just in case the second time through was the same order. There's actually, I thought that was okay, but there's actually a chance you could get three times in a row the same order.
Right.
He came up with just a simple loop to check that how many times by coincidence the order was the same. Well, maybe his could actually. Now I'm thinking that his way could actually, if the order were the same 3 times twice in a row, it could fail too. Anyways, it was, this testing is not as easy as you think, and if you don't.
That's right. It's funny. I mean, I think it's so great that you're doing the RSpec mob, Matt.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that too. I don't know if you'd let
Yeah, I mean, Lokesh, if you're interested in trying to get involved in the RSpec mob, that's a mob programming session that focuses on kind of these issues. I mean, I think it's what's interesting to me is that I wonder, or I suspect that actually the effectiveness of testing is very variable across different companies and how they're using it in different situations. And I think it's really easy for people to kind of say, oh, you guys don't have any tests, you're not proper engineers, you're not doing it right. At the same time, just doing lots of tests doesn't magically make anything wonderful, and it can also, you can spend huge amounts of times on the test and actually not get, if they're the wrong tests, or if they're depending upon what's happening or the unreliability of the situation, you can burn huge amounts of time that could have been used to prototype, a different solution. That, I mean, it's so tricky, these things of like the right way of testing and finding the right kind of test and supporting it. It's well, people are writing books on it, aren't they?
That's why I'd love you to hear Robert's view. He's very good at it. He only tests the features of the app that matter.
Oh, right. This is Robert from the Rundfunk German television thing.
Yeah, he's not testing like whether or not the model has many, like.
He's not doing any unit tests.
Like shoulda matchers and things. And now I'm not wondering how useful is some of that, because if it's.
Oh well, that's. I mean, it will be. Hopefully, he'll come into a Scrum and we can have another chat. I mean, that's another way. That it's that testing pyramid. I mean, there's the top level acceptance tests. You've got the mid level integration tests, and then you've got your low level units. I mean, I think Raphael is going for all unit tests and no acceptance tests at the moment. In async voter, and it's easy to have like a religious war about it, right? like of, oh, you've got to do this one, or you're not a good engineer, or what have you. But I think, you know, that there are pros and cons to all the different approaches. I think that the difficulty with that one often has, if you're only going to have acceptance tests, is that they can be very slow. And there's actually, this is from the behavior-driven design book. There's an argument that says that if you're only ever focusing on the behavior, you are going to have difficulty evolving kind of like a kind of a core engine in your system. Right. And there's I mean, it's like, I mean, have you seen Eric Evans' behavior-driven design book, Matt?
No. Is that good?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. I mean, there's this kind of, he's saying, I said it's not, but it's domain-driven design. Sorry. So behavior-driven design is like Cucumber and RSpec, and you know, actually, whether you're doing unit tests or acceptance testing, it's that you're testing things as a black box. And so the more that you are like going in there and checking, oh, it should have a has many or whatever, it ends up not sort of behavior. But anyway, but it's, you know, depending upon the perspective that you're taking, you know, from the outside external user, checking that there's a has many relationship between two things is clearly looking inside the box. But domain-driven design, sorry, by Eric Evans. And he's saying that that's great to always be looking, you know, to get the behaviors, but you can end up with this spaghetti code inside. And all of the behavior-driven design people, you know, Cucumber and RSpec, they're not saying like, oh, because you do these outside tests, you magically end up with a clean code base inside. You need to generate and refactor. And so then there's this question of like, you know, how you do the refactoring, and should the refactoring be driven by the unit tests? And there's an argument that says that unit tests can be, and then you'll read about this in parts of it as you work further through the RSpec book, Matt, that the unit tests encourage you to think about the different components of your app in terms of these modules. And what Eric Evans says in domain-driven design is that if once you've kind of got these different domain entities all corresponding really well to your overall domain, then it will suddenly become much easier to develop new high-level features than if you just had this spaghetti code base.
Okay, and part of developing those units is having done proper
unit tests. But again, I mean, you know, exactly where, you know, your decision about the boundaries that separate your entities, you know, should you test that they have these has-many relations? Should you, what should you be testing? It's kind of a total art form about down the line, what will be the right kind of domain entities that will the best serve your needs. I mean, I'm struggling to see any way of knowing for certain which approach is best. You know what I mean? Like, there's lots of opinions about different approaches. I'm on the fences between all of them. You know, we've had you know, and then also like there's there's also like your team that you're working with, and are they a group of volunteers who are occasionally coming together, or are they like a full-time team who are working dedicated, and are they going to be working together for 5 years, or is there a lot of churn in your company? You know, and all of these things I think affect to a degree like how successful the different sorts of testing balances will be.
Yeah,
it's really hard. So anyway, there we go. That was an interesting chat.
That was interesting. Thanks.
Cool. All right. Well, I may see some of you later on. Yeah, I'll be around on Slack. Bye for now.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Lokesh.